Hi, this is Chuck Sutherland with the Real Estate Experts Summit. Today we have a person who's very important to me, and I think should be important to you for what she can give you in terms of knowledge about trust and building relationships. Something that's critical if you want to build a real estate investing business or a related business that will make you a living or a wealthy over the rest of your life. So the person that I'm talking about that's very important to me is my wife, Marilyn Sutherland. She is the best expert I know on relationships and building trust. She had 17 years of experience with IBM as an internal consultant working on state and federal government contracts, the customer relationship. She has an organizational development degree from George Mason University, master's degree, and she served as the only people person in high-tech companies and she dealt with the people issues that were around the technical issues. So she was the only person who could talk, people talk. So Marilyn, welcome to the call. I'm very excited to have you on the call.
Thank you. It's strange to be interviewed by you, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I don't know anybody who's more qualified to talk about building relationships and trust in business. And I know that whether you're putting together money for deals or putting together the deal, the partnership for the deal, the negotiating the deal itself, getting financing, it's all about relationships.
Right.
So why don't you give us the start with the 30,000 foot discussion of trust and relationships, and then work down to some specifics, and I'll ask questions along the way.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say trust is one piece of a number of healthy habits that have relationships work in business and personally. And there are a lot of other ones that are pulled in as issues come up. But I'm going to focus on trust because that's what the title is. And just know there's a whole world behind it. So what is trust? So Charles Feltman, who's the author of The Little Book of Trust, I think that's the name of it, he says trust is choosing to risk making something you value vulnerable to another person's actions. Now, when it comes to real estate, what you value can be your reputation, your money, your property, and all the things that are important to you that you want to protect. And when you go into a deal with someone, you want to be able to say, I believe this person will value what I'm offering in this deal. And of the utmost importance. It might not be more important than what they value, but it should be nearly equal. Because if they benefit and they screw me, that's not going to be good for them. Distrust means what I've shared with you that is important to me is not safe with you. So when you say, I don't trust you, you mean I can't share or give or work with you because I don't believe that you are going to value and protect what I'm offering. So that applies to all the real estate relationships, your partners, your investors, your clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, lawyers. Help me. You're muted.
Your bankers.
Your bankers, yes.
Right? Your the zoning people in your city.
Right.
The people that service your building. If you have buildings, your management company, your neighbors next door. If you have property, you have to have a trusting relationship with your neighbors. At least it helps. The title company when you come to close something. I think it affects every single factor of the real estate and finance business itself.
Right. And a lot of times I talk to people about trust a lot. And one of the questions that I ask is, do you trust easily, or do you wait until you know you can trust them? And a lot of people say, oh, I just trust right away. And then if they betray me, well, then that's it. But it's one thing if you're talking about maybe a colleague or a neighbor. It's another thing if you're talking about someone that you're going to be doing business with that involves thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars. And most people generally present their best foot forward and try to come across as trusting at the beginning. So the truth is, whether you trust easily or not, you want to be observing over time and see, can I count on this person? And I'm going to go in a little bit to the details of ways of looking at trust. And there's one more thing that I think is important. When we talk about due diligence in real estate deals, then that's a risk mitigation strategy for property, investments, and relationships in real estate. If you're thinking of investing in a building, you'd want to go and have you or someone you trust walk the site, look and see, is it in good condition? And look at the finances, look at all the paperwork and see, is this business what I think it is? And the same is true for your relationships. If you want to partner with someone, you want to do due diligence on them and find out, are they well respected? Do they keep their word? Do they have integrity in their business dealings? And so due diligence, it's a part of the real estate process. We're going to be talking about the due diligence idea around relationships.
Can I interject something here?
Absolutely.
So in times of severe economic dislocation or problems with finances and problems with loans and property, but like we're seeing right now, your relationships with different people are really important, like paramount, like your lender. If your lender isn't in sync with you during difficult times, that can be a problem. If you have partners that are only in it for the quick buck, but not for the long term, and you come into times when you're going to have to hang around long term, you could have, you could have problems. But if you've built a relationship with those people and with all the other people, that can withstand the difficulties or the winds of misfortune.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
And yes, and thanks for adding that. And that made me think about a conversation that I do want to put in. There's a term called VUCA, V-U-C-A. It was an acronym coined by students in the War College after World War II. And what VUCA stands for is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. VUCA. When 9/11 hit, executive coaches started talking about VUCA with their clients because business people had never thought about something like 9/11 happening. And so the whole idea of having backup scenarios and your data moved off site, so if something happened to your building, you wouldn't lose your computer, backups and everything. That started coming to the forefront. Right now, I don't know if anyone else is saying this, but I'm saying we are all in a VUCA world. Even your children, as young as 2 or 3, even if they don't understand what's happening, the schedule is off. Things are different. Often family members are more tense. Maybe there's less emotional resilience in their parents. So even children live in a VUCA world. And so it's important to understand that people are reacting more in survival than they are from their best self, because the world is uncertain and we don't know what's going to happen. And you want to be kind to yourself and to others. That doesn't mean you trust them, but and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but you give them the benefit of the doubt, but you trust and verify. Okay.
Awesome.
So, and you want me to keep going?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I think the term in the title about building trust is important. And the word is building, because you don't have trust overnight. It really is something over time. And that's not denying, I think many of us have met someone and instantly we feel that, oh, wow, I really like this person. It doesn't mean you give them your car keys if they say, hey, could I borrow your car? Or they say, hey, I need a place to stay. Can I move in with you for a month until blah, blah happens? And you just say, yeah, here's a key. No, probably not. So, and as we change and others change, our level of trust can shift. We might have someone that we've been close friends with for years. Something happens and we're not connecting now. So you might not have that same level of trust. So it's not a one and done thing. Doesn't mean you have to be paranoid about it, but you do want to pay attention. And when there's red flags, you want to have a conversation. People invest a lot of time and money and reputation in relationships where they had red flags at the beginning. The person didn't always do what they said, but they had some kind of a reason and you just said, okay, and you kept going. You want to talk about all those things. If people are operating in a way that doesn't work for you, you want to bring it out and not step over it, because anything you accept is a way of saying what you're doing is fine when it isn't. Another thing, I'm just looking at some notes I have. Successful coordination of action, which is needed to do any kind of a real estate deal, generally over weeks, months, and even a year, requires trust. If you're going to be getting into that kind of a relationship and you don't know if you can count on someone, you are setting yourself up for a lot of stress. And even if they are trustworthy, if you doubt it, it's better to bring it up. And often we don't, because we don't want to have conflict or we don't know how to say it and offend them. So but it is important that you find a way to do that. And trust is often not all or nothing. It's one or two areas or a few areas. So lots of times people are late all the time. And then you say, I can't trust you. But you can, just not to be on time. And so you want to bring that out in the open, not cut a relationship off that's worked in every other way, or ignore the areas that don't work because you think you trust them and you shouldn't have any issues. It's complicated. And one more thing, our ability to trust is often shaped and formed by the way our parents dealt with us when we were younger. And also, if you had earlier in your career or even recently, you really were betrayed by who you thought was a trusted partner or client or banker or lawyer, whatever, then often we're holding back and we're hesitant. Maybe we don't trust ourselves and we're overreacting. So you want to be aware of your filters around trust and recognize everyone else has filters as well. So understanding something about why they're so hesitant about this or what's their concern, you want to understand it. So Brene Brown is a social researcher, and she has done a lot of work on trust. And I'm going to just briefly touch on what she is saying are the 7 critical factors in trust. And the acronym she uses is BRAVING. Boundaries, reliability, accountability, the vault, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity. So I'm just going to make a quick statement or so about each one. B is for boundaries. It means you set and hold your boundaries and you respect me. and my boundaries. And then I do the same. I respect yours. And I respect yours. And so if you are not clear on your boundaries, that makes you someone that might not be trusted by others. Because if you don't have a line and you don't have a saying, this is what I'll do and this is who I am, and you waffle, you're not really trustworthy. Reliability. Reliability means that you can count on them, not just one time, but over and over. And also, they can count on you over time. And she uses the example of you get on a scale and it tells you your weight. And then every time you get on it, it's accurate. It's not just that one number all the time, even though your weight is fluctuating. That's a broken scale. Accountability. Accountability means when you mess up, you're going to own it, apologize, and then find out what you need to do to restore your integrity. And so do they. The vault. The vault is you can keep a secret. And anything that someone tells you, you don't tell anyone else. You don't gossip about it. You don't share it with your friends. And they do the same. And if someone comes to you and says, hey, did you hear that Joe is doing a deal? And he has to do it or he might go into bankruptcy. It's, and you start in on this. Whoever does that cannot be trusted because they're telling someone else's secrets and they're probably going to tell yours. Integrity is that you honor your word and that you'll do what's right instead of what's easy. Non-judgment. So non-judgment means if I'm helping you or you're helping me, we don't think less of the other person. We know not everyone can do everything. I don't think less of you and disrespect you because you came to me and asked me for money or advice. So that's really important because you can't feel safe if you think someone's going to be judging you if you look weak. And generosity, you think the best of another person's actions. If you do something that harms me in some way, or you don't acknowledge something, or check in with me to see how I'm doing when you know I've had a difficult time, then I'm gonna, if you do something like that with me, then I'm gonna say something to you and check in. Hey, are you okay? Because I shared with you that I was really upset about something and you said you'd touch base with me and you never checked in. Like, are you okay? And then hopefully they'll say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. And you'll clear that up. And communication is critical. So when you have a red flag in one of these areas that Brene Brown called out, you want to find out what's going on. Because over time, if people are less and less respecting these areas, it might mean that they were putting on a show and the real them is coming out. Or they might be having a hard time. You've got to ask. And if you want to watch a video, if you can just search for Brene Brown Trust Braving, and you'll see a video. It's about 9 minutes and 50 seconds. And she's got lots of other ones too. So should I keep going? Okay. So I have some factors that I think are important that Brene Brown didn't include. One of them is there a particular area or two? And I talked about this earlier. If you're late all the time and I say, I can't trust you, I can't trust you around being on time. You're so funny, you're yawning. I hope it's not me. So, yeah, if somebody has particular areas you can't trust, it might just mean you can't trust them in that area. It doesn't mean you get rid of them from your life. And if it's someone in real estate and they aren't good about money or finances, depending upon their role, or they don't have awareness of details, and you're having them do due diligence on a building, and they're just walking through and saying, yeah, that looks good and that looks good. No, that's a problem. Do they care? I think so much of our relationship is based on knowing someone cares about us. That's what Charles Feltman was saying when he said, do the things that I value, will you value them as well? It means because you care about me. So that's really important. Are they competent? Someone might be the most trustworthy real estate person you know, but they don't do due diligence. You wouldn't ask them to do that for you because you can't trust what they do. Emotional maturity. So there are people in our lives that lash out or withdraw and disappear, or they're passive aggressive. And there's something about the way they manage their interactions with people emotionally. You don't feel safe with them, or you never know what they're going to be doing. Or maybe they're yawning. I don't know.
It was a 5-hour sleep night. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had 11 hours last night.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So rare for me, but I'm sorry, honey. Requests and promises. So if I make requests of you that are unreasonable, or I make promises to you and I don't keep them, you shouldn't trust me, and vice versa. So how we judge if we can trust someone is how they interact with us when we make requests and promises. And then, are they sincere? And by that I mean, are their actions and their words in sync? And then, there's this kind of woo-woo thing, but all of us from time to time have a sense, like a fluttering in our belly, or we just feel like, oh, can I trust them? Or you get like the heebie-jeebies with someone. That's from when I was a kid, or in your heart, you just don't know if you don't feel safe with them. Whatever you feel, I don't know what it is. You may not either. But if you have that kind of a sense, you want to follow through on that and see, is there anything behind it? Often our reactions are based on our past, or someone reminds us of someone who betrayed us in the past. It might not be true, but if your gut intuition or your heart is telling you something, you want to pay attention. So I've got one more thing that I'm going to talk about, which is a habit. And this is called intentional connection. And this is something that I've created. And what it's about is when you are interacting with someone, you are there with them. You are present. You are listening and not trying to figure out how am I going to get what I want to say in, but you're really listening to them. And you're asking questions to clarify things. You might reflect back to them, hey, did I hear you right that you said ABC? And so they know you are listening, you're tuned into them. It shows you care, it's respectful. And when you do that, then people feel safe with you and they can count on you. And that isn't something you just do once. Every time you interact with them, you are interacting with them with the intention that they know they are seen and heard. And you're showing respect. And when you do that, it makes a difference. One of the dangerous things, I was looking for my phone, I was going to hold it up, it's not on. This thing right here, our phone, when we're talking to someone and you get a ping on your phone and sorry, just put it away so I'm not distracted from being with you and intentionally connecting. We start to see, oh, Facebook message came up, or you click on something and all of a sudden you're scrolling on your Facebook. That is telling the other person, you are not important. My Facebook is, or my phone is, or some message I just got. That is more valuable than you. And it's rampant now in our society. So you want to be very careful that when you are talking to someone, you are looking at them, you are listening to them, you're engaging with them. And when you do that, you say, basically, you can trust me. I have your best interest at heart. And if you're not engaged with them, if you're interrupting them, if you're disagreeing with them, that's not showing respect, and people won't trust you. And it happens every single interaction, every single interaction. And in my book, Why Did You Load the Dishwasher Like That? The 9 Whopping Mistakes That Push Love Away, I talk about how every time you are interacting and you do something that is not being intentionally connecting, you're putting a brick in a wall between you and them. And when you do that over and over again, the wall gets higher and higher, and pretty soon you can't see the other person and they can't see you, basically. Or they don't trust you.
And it's so easy to overlook that you're putting bricks between you and the lender, you and your tenant, you and your maintenance people, you and your investors, you and other real estate people, you know, and you build them absent-mindedly almost until there's a wall.
Right. And then someone, you know, can just stop communicating with you. You leave them a message, they don't call you back, and you think, well, I wonder what's going on. Maybe you did something, maybe you didn't. You want to find out. But if you're paying attention and intentionally connecting, and so as bricks are put in, they're also being removed because oh, hey, I'm sorry, I was looking at my phone. I apologize. Where were we? And then you don't do it again. And so it matters with everyone. And we're talking about business, but it also matters in your personal life, with your friends, the people you live with, your children, your partner, your roommate. Every time you do that with them, you're a little less available. And people often wonder in marriage why someone leaves all of a sudden, because you've been building walls and you didn't know it. And hey, they may not have ever said anything, but nonetheless, if you'd been paying attention, you might know. And the same is true now back to business, in our business relationships. If you have partners who don't communicate concerns early on, and then after the deal's done, they start telling you this doesn't work and this doesn't work, that doesn't work. That doesn't work to build trust. So if you're awake and paying attention, you see the signs far earlier. So.
Awesome.
That's it.
Well, thanks, Marilyn, for coming to us. I tell you, this is an area, you know, some people call the soft sciences, but you know, if you don't have the relationships that you need to have your business be successful, let alone your personal life, but let's talk about your business. If you don't have the relationships that will have your business be successful or endure the downturns, then those relationships begin to crumble and you're left alone.
Right.
And if you're alone on the prairies of business, even though we live in a world where we pretend that we're all independent and we can, you know, we're a self-made person, if you don't have the relationships that hold the deals together, hold the finances together, hold the maintenance together, holds the income coming in together, if you don't have those relationships, it impacts your financial future in a big way.
Right. And that's one of the things that I've learned from watching you around real estate is that relationships are more important than property. And I've seen that over and over again. And the organizations that you're active in, the Society for Exchange counselors and the National Council of Exchangers, NCE, those organizations value relationships. And you have, people that you can go and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or would you do this deal? Or what do you think are the biggest risks? You need people because you can't know everything. If you don't have a community of advisors and mentors and friends that you can run things past, you're putting yourself at risk. So even if I don't need anybody, I'm a self-made person, the real estate is getting more and more complex. And so it's important that you understand that you don't have all the answers.
Yep. Even though we pretend that we do sometimes.
Yes.
So Marilyn, thank you. I really appreciate you coming to the Real Estate Expert Summit to share with the understanding you have of trust and relationships. It's so important, and yet we pay so little attention to it. So thank you.
Yeah, I do have an offer that I want to make. I do have an attendance gift already, but I have a worksheet to help you if you want to think about a key relationship and evaluate it. It's just a simple way of looking at all of the categories that I talked about. And so you can go to my website, loveleadconnect.com, and then go to the contact page and just tell me, hey, I was on the Real Estate Expert Summit. Will you send me your handout? And I'll send you my handout so you can actually have that to help frame your thinking about the relationships where you are uncomfortable.
So would you give that website address again, please?
loveleadconnect.com, and then go to the contact page.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So stay tuned, everybody, for more segments on the Real Estate Experts Summit.